welcome to Hawaii Abroad Audio Podcast. I'm your host, Auntie Max, and today is Aloha Friday. It's the day of the week where you can sit back, relax, and listen as I interview former residents of Hawaii as they share their journey of relocating elsewhere and living abroad. In this episode, I am talking story with Kawena Mann, who's a native Hawaiian, or as we say in Hawaiian, Kanaka Maoli. So Kawena has been living in Japan for several years, and I'm excited to share his story with you. So, without further ado, let's talk story. Ui, aloha Kawena, pehea oi.
Mai ka'i, aloha auntie, how are you doing?
Mai ka'i, no. So before I get into the questions that I have for you, I was wondering if you can just introduce yourself first and share a little bit about your journey on how you became now a resident in Japan.
Okay, so my name is Anthony Kawenaulaokala Mann. I'm Hawaiian Chinese. I was born and raised on Oahu. I grew up in Kahala, and all my life I lived on Oahu until about 13 years ago. I moved here to Japan, and I moved because my wife is Japanese, and my wife also is a student of Kawai Kapu Okalani Hiwe and Kuhai Halau o Kawai Kapu Okalani Paola Pakahiko. And moving from Oahu to Japan and that journey, I don't know, in the beginning, I wasn't so scared because I'm moving to a different country. I've traveled a lot to Japan as a hula dancer. I'm not sure why it wasn't so scary moving here. It was kind of natural for me, I guess. And since being here in Japan, I am just the same guy from Hawaii doing the normal things every day, but just in a different environment. And Japan has been a very nice place for me.
Mai ka'i. So was your decision to relocate away from Hawaii to Japan, was it meant to be permanent or temporary?
Actually, when I moved, I didn't even think about if it's going to be permanent or temporary. Actually, I think my decision to move to Hawaii had to do with my wife's mom. So my wife's mom is Roko. Her name is Hiroko, and she's so-so. Her health is so-so. So it's much better for us to be here to take care of her. So that's what we're doing now. So in the beginning, I didn't know if it's going to be temporary or permanent, but now, 13 years later, I think I really like living here in Japan. I don't know, with regards to Hawaii, maybe we just visit sometimes, but I'm not sure if we'll ever move back to Hawaii, but it's possible. But for now, it's permanent. We're going to live here in Japan.
My God, wow, 13 years is a long time.
Yeah, the time goes by fast.
Yeah, and in our culture, it's really, really important for us to take care of our kupuna. So you're doing the right thing, mai ka'i. Mai ka'i. So because I know you personally, I know you're perpetuating our culture, our Hawaiian culture. So can you share with us a little bit about, or as much as you want, about how you perpetuate our traditions, our values, all our culture heritage?
Well, right now I'm 51 years old, and I started hula when I was 9. And when I was 9 years old and 10 years old, growing up in Kahala, and I'm starting hula, even back then, this is like 40 years ago, in hula, we had performances almost every other day or every week. And back then, we didn't use so many fake things. So everything was fresh flowers. So we had a lei for kahiko and a lei for wada. So it's every week we're making a new lei. And I'm a keiki in Kahala. So, I was in your beautiful place like Ka'ava where you can just so much nature, but around my neighborhood had nice gardens. So there was a lawa'e I could use in Kahala, I could go to the mountains, whether it be Ainakoa, and they had lehua, or I could go to Hawaii Kai, where also they had in the mountains, they had lehua too. So, or for my wanale, I'd go like to Times Kahala. I pick bougainvillea because we had to wear bougainvillea lei, or my home, we had makarians. So I used to use makarians too for kahikole too. So that experience, like just a child, I mean, a young boy, just making leis and hula, that's already two things, hula and leis. Then as I was getting older, in my high school years, I started to like music, or I like to play my ukulele too. And this is where I met your cousin or your nephew, Mark Martinez.
My cousin, yeah.
Yeah, your cousin. And Mark Martinez was such an interesting person for me. You know, I'm like, I think right now, maybe I think my level is high, my understanding. But when I was in high school, my God, I didn't really know so many things. Although I've been dancing for a long time, since the keiki time. But when I got to high school, I was already dancing for like 5 years. But when I met Mark was so talented and gifted person. And he liked music, and he could sing, and he could sew too. And I didn't know nothing about Kawenaulaokala and Hiwen. I barely even knew his name, but Mark introduced me to a few of his songs. So when one year, I think it was our junior year, this is in 1988, we had a talent competition. So we sang Lai Kawai.
Oh, okay.
And Mark sewed our dancer's dress, and our dancer's a very big girl. I was like, wow, Mark, my God, you sewed the dress. So it was a nice experience just being around Mark, I think. So now, so high school, now I have lei making, hula, and music. And then I think in high school, and then little after high school, I started getting more into crafts. And after high school, I was with Kumu Chinky, and Kumu Chinky's musician is Auntie Hanai. Do you know Auntie Hanai?
Yes, I know of her, not personally, but of her.
Yeah, Auntie Hanai is like, well, truly was a master crafter. And I think when I think about like a master crafter, I mean, you have people that are able to do the things, but Auntie, had some kind of connection to the past. So everything has to be very like perfect. And, once you start it, you have to finish it. So, but Auntie, I learned a lot of things from her. So like pahu drum making, and other craft things like uli making, or lei making too. So now at this point, like I'm high school, and after high school, I can do craft. I'm interested in crafts too. So I have all these kinds of background things that I've learned. So in me, so at this point, whether it be on Oahu or here in Japan, I'm just basically doing the same things that I've learned from my teachers. But I've also learned a lot of craftings too from Kumu Chinky, Al Makahinu Bakarsi, Keola Lake, as well as Kawai Kapuhiwe. So those craftings are like treasures, I guess, for me. And like one of the craft things that I treasure deeply that I learned from Kawai Kapu is how to make a puili. So
okay.
Yeah.
You guys got bamboo on that side?
We have bamboo, but I don't use the bamboo from here. I would use the bamboo from Oahu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so sometimes, not sometimes, but I think perpetuating the thing too is also not, you want to share it, but you don't want to make it so spread out too, because people value it, and then there's people that they don't really think about the value of that ike or that knowledge. So there's some of that I have to do too. So But in general, I try to share everything. So if somebody asks me, of course, I'm going to share that knowledge. But in the back of my head, I have to be very careful sometimes too. That this is something very special, and
Yes.
I think that's perpetuating too. I mean, we want to give a lot and share a lot, but we also have to try to take care of it too. And maybe it's I don't think it's a selfish thing. It's just it's like taking care of that value of that knowledge, I think. Yeah.
Mai ka'i. I know with Kumu Kapu, he shares with us that it's important that, yes, we learn our culture, our heritage, and we do share it. Once we get to a point, we share it. Yeah, and we start to teach. And I know you're teaching, so could you share a little bit about what kind of teaching you're doing with our heritage?
Yeah. I think right now, I think my style of teaching is, I think if I think about first of all, my philosophy of teaching, I think it's very ʻohana-ish, very family-ish. I have a background with Kumuchinki, and Kumuchinki is very much ʻohana too, but it's very strong competition too. And my focus is really not competition at all. I think my focus is really trying to take care of my students and try to bring them up, try to make a nice foundation, and try to bring them up, make them grow in trying to understand our culture without being so like, this is how it is, but trying to be a good example for them. So trying to be a good example in my teaching would be trying to look at the Hawaiian values of aloha, malama, pono, and lokai, and then try to, in your teaching, in how you talk, how you, just in your words, you like Auntie Mary, for example, man, I can just imagine Auntie Mary's teaching is always filled with a lot of love. So she doesn't have to say, aloha is, no. Aloha is in how I'm doing it, how am I talking to you, how I look at you. So I think that's kind of like how the philosophy of I teach and how I teach too. So I teach awana, kahiko, lei making, crafts here in Japan, and anything, of course, chanting, oli. But teaching too is being a kumuhula or teacher. I really know that it's like 24-hour job, to be very honest, because we have a class time, but we have after class time, and then I have my home time where I'm thinking about what to do next, trying to stay ahead of everybody and trying to have a good plan for everybody, trying to look at where it's not going well and try to see how I can make it better. So being a teacher is, not just about just beautiful costumes and leis and what dance. So there's so many other things behind too.
Yes, very much. It's a way of life. It's not something that you just clock in and clock out. No, it's a way of life. Pretty much the way you how you are and what you teach and what you share and you mentoring other people. So yeah, it's a way of life.
Yeah.
So mai ka'i.
And I think the word, right, people, you're going to hear kuleana, right? And kuleana is like, oh, yeah, you understand it's responsibility. But yeah, it's kuleana, way of life. It's more of like that lifestyle, way of life. And of course it's kuleana, but it's like your teachers took so much time to give you and share with you and take care of you. So it's like appreciation too. So it's a love and appreciation and trying to give back and trying to be I'm trying to be a good student for my teachers. So my work, if it's good, then they're happy. But if my work is not so good, then it's not good for my teachers when they look back at what you're doing. So
yes, we need to honor the legacy that was passed on to us. Yeah. So, good for you and good for your students. I'm sure they're getting some rich and valuable ike from you. So mahalo. So I know you're helping your wife to run a halau, or you guys are running a
Mhm.
halau. So can you share a little bit about that? What's the name and things about it?
Okay. So my wife has her own halal, and my wife is Erisa, and her halal name is Ku Hai Halau o Kapua Naupaka Paola Pakahiko. So Naupaka's name is in there. But my own halal name is Anapa Napa Vai o Puolena. And this name, I used to work with Frank Kawai Kapuhiwit to Kumu. I used to work with him in Waimanalo.
Okay.
And when I was working with him, an opportunity came up to teach at a high school, Lutheran high school. So Lutheran high school, the story is Auntie Snooky's brother, Ina,
Yes.
was teaching there. But Ina was like, I guess, was finishing teaching at that Lutheran high school near UH Manoa. So he thought of me to continue to teach them. So I said, oh yeah, I want to teach on it, of course. And this is back in 2001. So then I asked, oh, cool, can I have a name for my halal? And this is the name he gave me. So Anapa Napa is like shimmering or glittering, and Puolena is a water area. I think it's, what do they call it? Brackish water area. But anyway, when you enter Heia, and you go down the hill, and sometimes for our hoikes with Kumu, we used to have our blessings down there, and at that area is Puolena, and there's a legend too about that area of Haumea and how the how turns a certain color, and Haumea, you can see her. Yeah, but that he gave me a name, my halal name.
That's the entrance to Ulumau, yeah? And then you walk down.
Yes.
To Kakai. Oh, yes, we used to go over there and do our blessings all the time with him. So,
yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think, but for me, for that name, I think it's like, it really touches my heart, because of course the blessings, but Kumu used to talk about stories about his kupuna bones. Evie would come up, wash up, and he would have to take a more deeper in. So that place is not just about the beautiful water, but it's about his homeland, his family connection to that area. So that's another kuleana for me to just think about really where the name is coming from and what my connection and my halau is. So
My ka'i.
mhm.
So you got can I ask about how mana you have?
My halau is not so big. I think, I don't know how many students I have. I think I have like 40 students, maybe.
That's big.
40 or 50 students.
That's big.
Well, in Japan, I think some halaus are like 100, 200.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. But anyway, but for me, I think my halal size is really nice size, because I know everybody's name. I teach all my classes, and I'm able to take care of them. So if we need a hair accessory or a lei, I'm able to take care of it. So it's perfect for me.
Yeah.
And
they get more personal touch from the kumu.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Because there's a lot of interest, in our culture there in Japan. So a lot of people that want to take our do hula and learn our culture ways. So mai ka'i. Okay, so now I wanted to see if you can share with us a little bit about being a Kanaka living abroad, and sharing a little bit comparison about between Hawaii and being in Japan.
Okay. So when I first moved there, 14 years ago, of course, I don't know nothing, but when I moved here, there's some Hawaiian restaurants here. Like doing like Hawaiian, trying to do Hawaiian food like mochiko chicken, spam musubi, loco moco. I don't know.
Nice.
my friends are doing Hawaiian food. So there's the food, right? But I'm like, okay, but I don't know how, I didn't know the level and how much love Japanese people really like those things. But when you're just a local boy, we have that every day. It's like, oh, okay, so what? But that's anyway, nowadays, so what is kind of big. What I understand and what I see, Japanese people really love Hawaii, not just hula, but they love the food. Of course, they love the culture and craft making and things and lei making. So anyway, so living here in Japan, I'm kind of around. I live near the ocean, and they're paddling in the ocean in a canoe. And where I live. There's like several Hawaiian restaurants. We have a what is that? Kawena. We have a
Wow.
Kawenaulaokala burger place here. We have a L&L, and I play music at the L&L sometimes. We have like a Aloha table. This is all around where I live. So it feels like a little bit Hawaii. I'm around Hawaii a little bit. And I'm always around. We have our own hula students, but there's a lot of other hula groups too. So I'm kind of around hula people around here in my area too. So being a Hawaiian boy living here, it's I'm just in Japan, but I feel like I'm just the same kind of person, just in a different location. So, but and people, they know. I think when I'm walking around my home area, people know that I'm from Hawaii. So they kind of like are happy, or they tell me aloha or mahalo. They tell me mahalo too. Some of the Japanese people, some of my friends around my area, and it's kind of nice actually. So I kind of feel kind of at home here in Japan too.
Wow, my kai. So it sounds like they embrace our culture, and you being from Hawaii, they embrace you. So
Hmm.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Because I've spoken to some that lives in different places of the continent, and
Hmm.
it's not quite as engaging the way your experience is as theirs. So
Mm.
sometimes it can be challenging, especially with sometimes our dialect, the way that we talk, people don't understand, or
Hmm.
just the color of our skin get treated different. So it's nice to hear, it's refreshing to hear how someone can get embraced when they live somewhere else abroad.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about we talk a little bit more about Hawaii as you was growing up in Hawaii. So maybe you can share. I know you've been sharing some of your memories here as you was growing, but is there any more fond memories that you would like to share about growing up
Yeah.
here in Hawaii?
Mhm. So I think when I think about my own personal life experience, I think I had the best of two worlds, because I already mentioned I grew up in Kahala, and Kahala is like, it's not Ka'ava. It's so different. It's,
Mm-hmm.
we have all the rich people there. Of course, my family is not rich. My dad worked really, really hard, and he saved his money, and we could buy a home in Kahala. But when I talk about the best of two worlds, my life experience, I also was a little bit raised in Waianae too, because we have family in Waianae. And earlier you mentioned that you had a home in Pokai Bay. So when we were a keiki growing up in Waianae, we used to go to Pokai Bay, put out the mat. I mean, we're swimming at night. We swim at night, and we shower, and we sleep right on the tarp underneath the stars. Nowadays, you cannot do that.
Nope.
Probably, seriously, you'd probably end up the next morning. But
Yeah.
back then, we just, I mean, if you drive at Pokai Bay late at night, it's really dangerous. But I remember we had some memories of those kinds of memories too. But Waianae, the livelihood in Waianae with our family was really Hawaiian. My uncles were fishermen, so they catch fish in the daytime. And we're talking a huge family, like 10 uncles and 10 aunties. So, but my family, um, they always had money too, because they're construction people. They worked at Hawaiian dredging. So this family was never without anything. So they always had a big 5-gallon bucket of poi in the refrigerator.
Oh,
So most nights
nice.
was poi and fish and poi. And the poi was always in a one bowl, and everybody's kahi from that one bowl. And for me, I didn't get that kind of experience in Kahala at all. So, but living with our family, really, really in a Hawaiian way, really kind of shaped who I am today, because the family, when you say ʻohana, it's ʻohana. It's not like ʻohana, this is my ʻohana, something very light or something. Of course, it's not light, but in Waianae, that meaning of ʻohana is like, wow. I mean, we clean the yard together. We go to the beach together. Of course, we're camping together, and our camping all up and down Waianae coast, whether it be KLs or Yokohamas or Ruscam. And, the camping too, go there early, clean up everything, set up the tents, stay there for a month, break down, clean up everything. Oh, we used to camp at the Hawaiian Pier too, Boat Harbor.
Okay.
Because my uncle and them were in construction. So when they're building it, this is before all the boats. It was just piers. So we used to be there like a month or two. So we'd be jumping off of the pier and all these kinds of fun things. So I think that memory of, having culture knowledge and having that Hawaiian livelihood experience too was indelible, I guess, in my mind and in my life experience, I think.
Wow, that's beautiful memories. I'm so glad you was able to experience that. And sometimes I feel bad for our keikis now, because it's so different, and their experience, if they did what we used to do, is totally different. And now they get a lot of, they get entertained with their little devices, right, all the time. I don't need to go all the time. I just can be here on my devices, kind of thing. But yeah, it was special because I have similar memories like that, always going to the beach, always being with the ʻohana, doing things together, working out in the hot sun in the yard, but going to the beach after, So,
well, back then too, like also still from Waianae, when we did the luau and we did like squid luau, it's grating coconuts. It's not opening up cans.
right?
So, and a lot of coconuts. And of course, like, there's only one person grading as my uncle, but we were watching that whole experience, like, okay, he's grading coconuts. But then later on in your life, you go, wow, that was something important, because, and we all know like our squid luau is like really like maybe the best. Everybody thinks the squid luau is the best, but our family that's how they used to do it. So, but going back to your point about the technology and the kids having, I guess, a different life experiences, I think technology right now, as it is, we can't get away from it. So it's just what we can do to put in that culture experiences for our kids. So so that's a kind of fun part, a challenging part too. Like you said, if you're gonna talk to your mo'opuna about in Hawaiian or do some kind of hula for them, but it doesn't. For me too, teaching too, it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be a little, and that little, you just take care of it, and that little will grow. So that's kind of my philosophy.
My ka'i, that sounds exactly like Kumu kapu. Little bit. Got the seed, you just got to keep on watering them with the knowledge. Little bit here and there. And eventually it's going to grow. And then when it grows, it'll share that knowledge somewhere else. So my ka'i. I love your philosophy. Okay, so next question. I'm just curious about the career opportunities that is there in Japan. So I know you shared with us about what you've been doing about teaching, sharing our culture. Pretty much that's your operation, what you're doing. But if we have, some Kanakas that decided that maybe I want to venture over there and relocate, how's that opportunities or career opportunities? What kind of things that you think they might face if they decided to relocate there, and if they can actually have any career opportunities there?
Mhm. Well, as far as career opportunities, there's several. There's cultural things you can do, whether it be playing music or trying to teach something about Hawaiian culture, Hawaiian stories, mo'olelo, of course, hula, music, crafting. Those opportunities are always there. And if that's something that the people like, they can actually try to get a niche into it. Then other opportunities would be like teaching English. That's a basic one. So a lot of our Kanaka is very good at English too. Not everybody's just speaking pidgin like you and I.
Right?
Some Hawaiians is very good at English, man. So, and there's a big need for English here. Um, I have a master's in social work degree, and I have an accounting degree too. And I never tried to get a job with any of those, but I always thought that maybe my social work degree, I might be able to get a job here too. I don't know about it, but there's military bases here, so you could always try to get a job with a military base possibly. And maybe if I tried, I could possibly get a job in a social work or counseling capacity on a military base, I thought.
Okay.
So there are opportunities. For example, if you don't speak English, if you don't speak Japanese, but in general, you need Japanese if you wanted to get like some kind of simple job, whether it be at a restaurant or a convenience store, you need kind of a good foundation of Japanese.
That totally makes sense, especially since that's
Mhm.
their main language in Japan is Japanese.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But just talking about Japanese, and I think about it now, I think Hawaiian people are so smart too, because we're good at listening and we're good at memory. So I really think Hawaiians could learn Japanese quite easily, to be very honest. It would take us several years, but I think they could be up and running in a matter of 1 or 2 years in knowing Japanese. And if they're really dedicated, they could really get a good handle on knowing Japanese in about 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah. To offer some hope for our people that want to come to Japan.
Well,
Yeah.
just my opinion, when a person is placed in an atmosphere that, have that basic language and you don't know it, but you got to eventually learn it, you just get immersed in it and you pick it up. I've had family members that speak only English and then they go to Samoa, and within a year or within a few months, they come back and they can speak fluent Samoan, because they're immersed in it. And we even have our keikis, unfortunately here in Hawaii, we all speak only English or pidgin. And then you got to go to school to learn how to speak Hawaiian. But, when you look at our keiki and you put them in Hawaiian immersion, they pick up quick. In fact, my son was one of those recipients that, was in Hawaiian language or was in Hawaiian immersion. So they pick up quick. And sometimes when I speak to him, he's like, Mom, come on, it's not like that. I'm like, well, didn't correct me, But when you're really immersed in that, you pick it up. So I would think that's the same thing like in Japan. They would eventually be immersed in it and pick it up. So my kai. So it took you a while to be immersed in the Japanese language?
Yeah, it did. And I love to learn too. So I study a lot and try to study every day and try to get better and better at it.
So when you teach your haumana, you use English or Japanese?
English and Japanese.
Oh, okay.
But I try to use Japanese. Like teaching is not so bad. Teaching is easy right, go left, go forward, bend your knees, right? So to say those things in Japanese is really easy, but to tell the mo'olelo, the stories in Japanese,
Yes.
it's then you're gonna get a very pigeon-like Japanese version of that story. Seriously, which is okay with me, but I don't know if they understand it. But that's what you're gonna get.
Honestly, that's how
Pigeon Japanese.
That's how Pigeon was born, right? All the different ethnicities all trying to communicate. So pretty much that's how it was born in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So yeah, if it works, it works.
But I guess that when people talk about colonization, right? You have all this pressure trying to, like, you have academic pressure, like standards. So I have that in the back of my head, like, I try to talk good English, Kawena, or even if it's Japanese, try to talk good Japanese. But man, I'm just a Hawaiian boy, man.
Right?
It's like, but you have all this internal conflict. It's like, man, it's difficult. But you again, like you, Kumu, you forgive yourself. You try to be patient, and don't be so hard on yourself, and do your best.
Yep. Mai ka'i.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Kawena, I know we've been talking a long time, and I really, really appreciate you spending time with me today. But as we wrap up, I was just wondering if you wanted to share with us, do you have any message that you would like to share with any of our listeners, especially our people back at home? Any kind of message that you want to share of anything, whatever you want.
Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity to talk about my story, about living here in Japan and just being a local boy and Hawaiian boy. So, but my message is, I think throughout this hour, I shared a lot of stories, but a lot of our people, and you yourself too, have your own stories. And all these stories is basically stories of love and appreciation. And so I think it's good for us to reflect on those stories and take care of our ʻohana, take care of our community. So wherever you are, if you're in Hawaii or if you're on the mainland or in Japan like I am, just remember those stories, hold them near to your heart, and spread aloha is my message.
There you go. Wonderful way to close us out. Spread the aloha. Well, I want to aloha you and say thank you. Mahalo, mahalo, mahalo for just taking time out to share with us. And, I am so grateful, and I'm convinced that I know you are a great recipient, and you're going to you do represent Hawaii the best that you can with that aloha spirit. So mahalo for sharing with your hamana and sharing with us, culture. So mahalo. Wow, gang, I hope you guys found as much value in that session as I did. A Kanaka living in Japan and perpetuating our culture. Wow, mai ka'i. All right, time to wrap this session up. But before you go, please make sure you rate my podcast. 2 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever you think. But I would really appreciate it if you guys did. And also leave me a comment. Let me know if you know anyone that you think I should be interviewing. Just leave me a comment. Or you can go to my social media page, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Just leave me a comment there at Hawaii Abroad. All right, everyone. This is Auntie Max signing out for now. Aloha.